And it's another episode with Shankar Poncelet for the Shankar Poncelet podcast. And as so often, my lovely Antrea Ferguson is joining me today to inspire the conversation. We are sitting right now at a beautiful location here in San Antonio, Texas. How would you describe this place, Antrea?
Like some hybrid between a garden, a farm, a porch, and Austin, but better because it's San Antonio.
What kind of farm?
A hemp farm.
A hemp farm, yeah. There's a building here that has a notice that says in big bold letters restricted access. It's controlled by the Texas Agriculture Commissioner, and there's hemp in there.
Guys,
Orange glaze.
picture a lot with crops and greenhouses basically covered with lots of light, lanterns for the heat when it's cold. You know, the pole type of lanterns. What do you call those that are good for keeping
Yeah,
warm?
I think those are heat lamps.
And then like not gazebo, but the umbrellas that will keep you cool if it's too sunny.
Yeah.
And lots of wooden fixtures like chairs that are made out of just like wooden chairs and benches, and a porch, a very large porch.
Yeah, and the best thing about this place is it's really just maybe a 5 minute drive away from where we live. And one of the businesses on site here is a vegan hemp and juice place run by my friend Amos Lozano, and he is a hemppreneur. And as you know, I really like entrepreneurs. So shout out to Amos. And I'm sorry it took me so long to finally get here and try out your famous juices. And right now I'm sipping on a mocha hemp,
Mhm.
and it's
Milkshake.
yeah, mocha hemp milkshake,
What is
a
it?
hemp shake.
Cold brew,
Mm-hmm.
cacao, banana, hemp milk. And I ordered a MrBeast burger because there's a
Yes.
like a kitchen
So
trailer.
I wanted to talk about that. Mr. Beast, for those of you who happen to not know him, is the world's most viewed YouTuber. He is the guy who makes most YouTube revenue in the world. How old is he? 28, 24?
24.
He's 24. He makes billions and billions of dollars every year, hundreds of thousands of dollars per day in ad revenue. And he's a really interesting guy because when you see him and when you kind of meet him for the first time, not that I would have ever met him, hopefully I will one day, but he's,
we will.
yeah, I think so too. But he's just himself.
I know.
He's
that's the best way to describe
he's
him.
Mr. Beast, and he's a very, very smart guy, even though I imagine when you first meet him, you just don't think much of him. But I mean, the guy is the serious deal, and he has launched a brand called Mr. Beast Burgers. And I only knew of the location at that mall where the first day the mall was basically overran by people who wanted a Mr. Beast burger. He had to do zero advertising. Everything was just organically created by him having his Mr. Beast channel. Definitely, folks, if you don't know Mr. Beast yet, go check him out no matter what age you are, no matter what really is your interest. I think you will find it entertaining. And that is one of his strengths if you think about it.
It absolutely
It's just
is.
it's like a show like Family Feud or something like that that just anyone can enjoy.
I
right?
agree.
So I definitely strive after that and talk a little bit more about what I have in mind with creating something, the SHANKX Club, that hopefully appeals to a lot of people. But what I find fascinating about this Mr. Beast, burger place here that we literally sit away from, just a few feet here to our right hand side. Picture a container, one of those cargo containers that has been retrofitted into a kitchen, and it is a shared kitchen, meaning several businesses, two at this point, as far as I can tell, share this kitchen. And then on Grubhub, which is a food ordering app here in the United States, you can order your burger. And Antrea, you just placed an order.
I did.
Yeah. What did you get?
I got a MrBeast burger. It's very interesting because his name is Jimmy Donaldson,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody knows him as MrBeast.
Yeah,
But-
great personal branding, by the way.
Yeah, and
Did you know it was randomized by an app?
no
And
way.
yes, so
Oh, that's
he
awesome.
was looking for a name, and it was an app that just spit it out. And very typical as he is, the
Mhm.
first thing that comes out, he goes with it. You know, who would have thought that MrBeast? You know, because the name is kind of like negative name, right? A beast is not a nice being.
It's wild,
right?
savage.
But
I mean, not necessarily negative. I don't know if it's super serious though.
he changed what you feel when you hear the name MrBeast. You think of a big,
Oh, that's
like,
true.
bodybuilder, maybe a
Yeah, that's true.
maybe a,
That's
a
true.
metal guy, or
Right.
someone who like can harm you. But go check out MrBeast on YouTube.
He's so
He is
tame
yeah, he's such a
and normal. He's like this all around, average American.
yeah. You
guy.
just gotta love him.
So what I'm impressed about
Mhm.
is that he has impossible burgers.
Oh yes.
He has combos, burgers, impossible burger sandwiches, sides, desserts, beverages, and talk about brand. So this guy, so what's really cool is I was researching him a little bit, and
Mhm.
the people that are in his inner circle, there were 5 people that he asked to get together and do YouTube with him.
Well,
and
I
then in the
think
end-
so. He lives in a very inconspicuous, typical American neighborhood. It's a
Mhm.
cul-de-sac, I believe, and all his boys, as he refers to them, I believe, are mostly boys that live in that street.
well, and they have their own burger now.
Yeah,
It's Impossible Beast style,
I love
Chandler
it.
style, Chris style, Carl's Deluxe. So of the 5 that he asked, 3 joined and those 3 remain, and they
Yeah.
all get their own burger, and he looks after them. They look after each other. And they
Yeah.
all have their own channels and stuff.
And I like when they are in his videos. I like how they behave because they're all kind of humble, and down
Yeah.
to earth. Nobody's like, they probably all have more money than we will ever, have combined. No, not you and I, Antrea, but our listeners, most of them.
It's great.
Oh, where is my humility here, Antrea? It's gone. Going with the wind.
But listen, what's
Yeah.
funny is that they do bets, and it's like, I bet you $10,000 that you
Yeah.
can't make that basket.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I bet you 20 that you can't do
Yeah.
it again. And then if you miss it, then we'll give 30 to this charity organization.
Yeah.
And then if they get it, they do it anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, think of the power of what they're doing.
it's
Here
absolutely
are
wonderful.
we on a podcast that's supposed to promote me, and I have given him 5 minutes of free promotion,
Well,
right?
and I watched so many MrBeast out of just studying him, right?
Yeah.
That I saw in every little commercial that he do inside of his YouTube
Yeah.
video, like the chocolates or the Beast burgers,
Mhm.
and now I saw it and I was like, I gotta have it.
I mean, it's
had-
impossible. It's incredible. Like,
it
and
truly
that is, I
the
mean,
power of brand
that
and
just-
advertising.
I mean, if he can turn MrBeast into MrBeast,
Mhm.
we can turn Shanks into Shanks.
Yes.
I don't think there's
100%.
anything different, right?
No,
It's all
100%.
about creating that content that just makes people happy.
and continuously doing it, continuously
Yeah.
showing up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And being,
So-
but above all, what you said is he's just himself,
Mhm.
and that I believe true and through
Yeah.
and through. You need to do that.
Yeah, he so often says, I actually don't care about money all that much. I just like to give it away, see people be happy.
Or use
And-
it to create more.
Yeah, And
And that's
it's truly a stretch, because I do care about money. I like making it. And I will say though that we have reached a standard of living where there's not too many more dreams that we have, in terms, like, in that sense, where I don't look forward to buying a yacht or a private jet or a
Mhm.
personal island. Will I one day do it if I have the money? Yeah, sure, but it's not like, just like
Yeah,
this Mr. Beast
he said
has.
the same.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, he said the
He
same.
said the same. They're like, well, what if you could do any, like, how would your lifestyle change?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, honestly, the only thing I did was buy a Tesla, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not
Yeah.
really
So
looking for much.
now, what I will talk about so often, my dear friends, and by the way, I have gotten an email that my podcast, the Shankar Poncelet podcast, is one of the top podcasts, in terms of listeners in Luxembourg right now, which
Yay!
means you all in Luxembourg, merci, dass da mich unterstützt. Thank you for supporting me. It's really cool to know that. And what I will
Ja,
share,
ja,
yeah,
ja,
ne?
ja.
What I will share is our millionaire's journey, because Antrea and I are very close. Actually, we need to cross the 1 million boundary in annual revenue within the next 2 years, because that is a requirement that we have to join entrepreneurs organization, which we really want to do. And right now we're in the accelerator phase, which means we're given 3 years to make that happen. So our business this year is most likely going to make $650,000 in annual revenue, but we need to get to the million. Now, one of the ways we do that is by truly being open to mentorship. We want to be mentored by people who are where we want to be. We want to be mentored by people who walk the talk and who are the real deal. And it just so happens that to get access to these people usually costs a lot of money. So we spent this year $50,000. Yes, you heard it right, $50,000 on mentorship programs, and that includes things like EO and things like following Shanae Moray, following John Lee, and meeting them and being part of their programs. And I actually find it very valuable. And here's why, Andrea. I love it because it automatically, when something costs money, it acts as a gatekeeper, right? It keeps all the people who are not serious about it out. And the other thing is that you network, you meet people that are just at a different level, that are at your level or the level above. And that is just so important, because your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. And that is so very much true. And I'm going to share this journey with you here on this podcast. And then there are some elements that just where I go deep into the details of, like, for example, when I go to Bali in December to meet John Lee, a guy who has over 4 million um, follow us on social media, and a guy who continuously makes millions and millions. And when I go there, I will report in detail on what I experienced there and find there. And I'll do that within a club that you can be a member of, SHANKX Club. Definitely just go into your browser, type in Shanks, SHANKX.club, Shanks.club, and see what it is all about. Now, I will say that one one aspect that fundamentally changed the way I do business is that I no longer think of I think we, because Shanks is our company now, and we lead it together. Me as the CEO, who is a person that is a visionary, and you as the COO, who is a person that is over operations. Um, when Antrea, when did you kind of see that transition happen, or when did it become like apparent in your mind that that was gonna be the case? Kind of happened progressively.
No, I honestly feel like I woke up one day and I did it. I
Okay.
think I was doing bits and pieces, but then the actual shift, and I think so much of it had to do with the naming that title, and
Mm.
there is a responsibility that you want to live up to. I think people are looking to you for direction, and it's a lot less of coworker and a lot more of leader in terms of going to you, depending on you, for decisions, which means you have to put yourself in the frame of mind. What is the DNA of the company? What are the decisions that make sense for what we're doing? Like, how are we going to operate, and what systems do we put in place to make sure that we're giving ourselves and the clients what makes sense? And a lot of that, I feel like in the beginning was so much of coming to you, coming to you, coming to you, coming to you, ask, 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 until I could predict what your responses would be. Now, what's interesting is in our entrepreneurs organization, I definitely remember one incidence where there was a report of the difficulty in having a COO that didn't actually fulfill the role as planned, as intended or envisioned. And so much of that has to do with lack of communication, or at least understanding, between the CEO and the COO. Now, because we are in close quarters, we live together, et cetera, that communication barrier is gone. So it just makes it so much better. I mean, it began with me taking over the meetings just ever so often, and then it became all the time permanently, and then it became this and that. And, when you're thinking of when did it happen, I remember a gradual transition, but then I also remember when, like, the light switch was
Mm.
flipped on. It's kind of difficult to explain, but all in all, it obviously it had to have been a process.
Mm.
But that final push, I think I do remember. I do.
Yeah. Well, I can just say that I'm extremely grateful that that has evolved like that, and I believe that it's going to be the key to the million. And we have very big plans, Antrea and I. Obviously, we want to grow our agency, and for those of you who don't know that yet, we run a healthcare and marketing PR agency, and part of that is really growing a team of employees who just is a team of A players. But the other pillar that we want to build up, just like, MrBeast has a YouTube channel, but he also has a food business right now, a restaurant, and Andrea is about to get her Impossible MrBeast burger. Just like he also does various things. We want to have an additional pillar, and that is basically the SHANKX Club brand that really is a club that should empower you, that should motivate you to get to your next step. Whether that is entrepreneurially or just personal development, or just kind of creating additional income sources by getting ideas. I think part of Shanks Club is definitely once a month we have a live Zoom call, and then we will talk, or our friends, our billionaire and millionaire friends who are in certain business segments, and just are very successful, they will come on and talk about how they do things. And that's just going to be an amazing community where there's constant motivation. And Antrea and I, we promise to always show up for you. We have made a promise to ourselves and to our entourage that we will create content and show up for you every day, even if we don't feel like it, even if it is going to be funny content. Let's put it like that. Like this morning, so we are recording this on October 15th, a Saturday. And if you want to see, as Antrea calls it, Shankar letting loose, you can go to the LinkedIn profile, Shankar Poncelet's LinkedIn profile.
It was also one of the most interacted and on lives that we have ever done.
Interactive?
Yeah,
oh, interacted on. Yeah, I think people liked it. Like in the moment, I felt a little bit like it was disorganized, but when I rewatched it, it was okay, you know. And yeah, so definitely, dear friends, please support us in our endeavor just by joining the SHANKX Club. It's $7 a month, less than a cup of coffee that you mostly order every day. Uh, but if you can't do that, totally understand that. No, the problem at all. What you can do in that case is write a review for this podcast, share it with someone who you think will really grow and find it interesting and it will be helpful to them. Someone who needs daily motivation and inspiration, someone who needs a community. There's a Telegram channel, which is basically an app for your smartphone where I will share my thoughts on a regular basis, and Antrea will do too. Antrea will do too, yeah.
And
so
I do want to tell your audience something as well.
Okay.
Never be afraid to ask questions. Never be afraid to ask questions, especially like I said, I asked you a million questions, and then that helped program me in learning how to think of like how, again, the DNA of the company.
Yeah.
And it's super vital to just be clear and make sure that you have all of your questions answered.
Yeah, well, the thing is also, when our audience asks questions, we know what to talk about and what to focus on, and hopefully we'll bring some answers. Yeah, how long does it take for your MrBeast burger?
Let me go check.
It should be here soon, I think. Antrea will leave us here for a moment, and I think I'm getting into the phase of wrapping this podcast up. Usually 20 to 30 minutes, it's a good time for you to have gotten a value in this podcast, and also it not being too much of commitment. I really, really value your listenership, and it's just so interesting to be able to share my life, my journey, which is really the millionaire's journey. And I will just let you know what I'm up to. Okay. So again, I will say this week really was under the title content creation. Not that it's a new thing in my life, but we have really decided to be there for you every single day in some form or fashion. And I hope you enjoy the content I create and we create. And whenever you like something or interact with something, maybe share it. It just makes it so much more enjoyable to do that very hard work, because it is hard work. It's not easy to create every day, but it definitely will make a difference in our lives and also in your lives. That's it for this week's podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the Shankar Poncelet podcast here from San Antonio, Texas. I'm signing off, and have a wonderful day.